Hey, I'm Robert Rushing.
And I'm Joe Brown.
And we're
the Old Government Guys.
Old Government Guys is a podcast where we seek to highlight ordinary feds who do extraordinary things and shed light on and recognize your friends, family, and neighbors who comprise the government workforce. Often their work goes unnoticed, and we want to put a face on your fellow feds and share with you their stories and accomplishments in a fun and respectful way. Hey, Old Government Guy Robert here. Welcome to episode 4. For today's episode, I'm going to sit down with Mr. Kenny Johnson, and we're going to go over his career, talk about some of his accomplishments and highlights, and the contributions he made to the Air Force civil engineer community. Later in the show, I'll sit down with Mr. John Gibson, who's a retired Air Force community planner, and John's going to share with us a couple of stories that you may find funny. And I wanted to let you know that we're continuing to incorporate feedback from your comments, such as providing a preview of upcoming shows. For example, episode 5, we're going to do a special tribute to Mr. Chuck Sear, where I collect a small group of his friends and we all share our favorite Chuck stories. Chuck was tragically taken from us in September of 2025, and he was a critical member of the Air Force civil engineer family. And then for episode 6, the one you all have been waiting for, I'll sit down with retired Colonel Dean Hartman. Dino's interview will actually span 2 episodes because that fella is never at a loss for words. But until then, I hope you kick back and enjoy episode 4. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, Robert here, one of the Old Government Guys, and I've got the extreme pleasure of interviewing Mr. Kenny Johnson, who's an older government guy.
Right.
So, Kenny, you've got about 42 years of
right.
federal service.
Right.
So would you mind telling us a little bit about kind of your career and what you've done over the years?
Oh, okay. Hello, everyone. I've worked with both the construction industry and the environmental industry over the past 42 years. Started my career in missile systems design, if you can believe that. Then we moved several times to get better opportunities. But, being in the engineering and environmental arena has been kind of my forte, and I've really enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun, very hard at times, but, it was worth it, and after 42 years, pretty much called it quits to let somebody else and new blood come in and take over the helm and see what they can do.
All right. So just for some folks may not know what environmental work is done. And like, if it's the Air Force, why do you need environmental? Don't you fly planes?
Right.
Well, and I think throughout the series that I've been recording is people are starting to understand that there's more than just flying planes when it comes to the Air Force. So why would the Air Force need an environmental function?
Mm-hmm. Well, the Air Force is dual function. First of all, it flies, fight, win, and
That's
we
right.
do a really good job of that worldwide. But in order to do that, you have the manufacturing processes and the different applications that get those planes in the air. In most of the Air Force bases, we do cleaning, and that's one of the biggest problems we have in the environment. That when you clean these airplanes or you have fluids for these airplanes, the piping and the systems tend to leak. We had systems in place, clay type pipes and sewage systems for years and years and years, when it used to be the Army Air Corps, when the Air Force first started. And then now those things are starting to show up in our communities, in the environment. And our job is to go in and clean a lot of those things up. We actually monitor the things that we do, the processes and the chemicals that we use for making sure that those planes fly. There's so many different facets to a plane flying that a lot of people don't see. They just get in the plane and take off. But all of those byproducts for years and years and years, we either have to monitor those, we have to comply with the current laws and regulations once they figure out that they do impact the humans and the environment. So our teams have historically gone in, cleaned those things up, made it restorable so we can use that land for something else, or protect the communities around those Air Force bases where the water is impacted. And right now at 166 locations that the Air Force kind of services on the environmental side, they're doing a really good job in making sure that, no one is drinking impacted water, things like that.
Being a good neighbor.
Being a great
good
neighbor.
neighbor to the communities.
I think we were great neighbors. Yeah.
And 166, that's worldwide.
That's worldwide.
It's not just the U.S.
Worldwide. Wherever we had a footprint for the Air Force, like Germany, Belgium, things like that. In fact, I used to do that overseas for the Europe environment where the Air Force was. And we had to go in and, work with the local economies, the local countries, host nations, and try to work out situations where we can make sure that we wouldn't impact their livelihoods as well.
Yeah, because that's having those good relations internationally. It's not just the State Department, right? So DOD, if we want to keep that presence, we have to be good stewards of their land because we're visiting forces in many cases.
Right. And I was also the real property manager over in Europe at the time. Environmental and Europe, real property kind of went together. Yeah. And so the rule was that when we leave a certain location, we give that back to the host nation. We weren't there to own properties from other countries. But we put it back in a situation where, they can use it and it's back, not the pristine maybe, but in pretty good shape.
That's right. And I also did some time overseas, and I know that's an added level of complexity. And one thing I've mentioned before on the podcast is when the public thinks about the military, it's kind of the fighting side. That's what they see, the folks in the uniform. But in many of those installations, stateside or even overseas, there are civilians that work right there with them, including overseas, because our military, they're the tip of the spear, and they're trained to go out and fly, fight, and win. But like you said, we need these installations, our power projection platforms, right? And a lot of that work, typically, to keep that installation up and running, it falls on civilians.
Right.
Yeah. So, Kenny, I'm just looking back over your career. You said you'd moved around a little bit, and I'm also trying to put a human face on federal employees. We're not some sequestered group someplace else. So, the family really supports your career. Tell me a little bit about the family side.
Yeah, the family side. From the civilian side, you see the military; they move every 2-3 years wherever the mission needs them. But the civilians also do that as well. So I started off my career with the Navy, like I said, doing missile systems design. And, my wife had to pack up after I graduated college and we moved to California. That was a great experience because, they're working on the missile design, the missile repair, the missile maintenance, and all of that kind of stuff. And the family has to make that adjustment too. And a lot of times we don't see how the civilian side of it, because like you said, we only think the military is doing all of the work. But for the most part, the civilians are holding the torch and carrying the load. And when the military transfers out and the new one comes in, the civilian is there to maintain what was there, those competencies. And your family has to sacrifice a little bit. They would have to move. I've moved from California, from Texas to overseas. I've had opportunities to go, temporarily to working places for a couple of months and things like that. But the family is really, really important to make sure we keep them engaged and keep them informed and understand the challenges that they go through too, finding schools and new neighborhoods and things like that, new friends. We travel a lot, and in my industry, I have to go to all of these different places, especially when we have community meetings.
Yeah.
I may be in Washington one week, and then in California the next week, and Alaska the next week, and things like that, and going to Hawaii, and so the family does sacrifice, and we don't take it for granted, but we don't make it a big issue.
Right.
And I'm sure the military don't make it an issue either.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a different aspect of what it means sometimes to be a Fed. Some people never move.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Right. And they're good continuity for
Yeah.
the organizations, but there are, certain jobs that require that travel or require that relocation. And it's just another aspect that sometimes people don't think about that.
Right.
And I won't say it's an added complexity, but it can sure add stress.
Right. Oh yeah. For many years, my extended family, cousins, uncles, aunts, and all that kind of stuff, they thought I was in CIA because I had to go here and I had to go here. I had to go to Europe. Well, what do you do? You're not doing environmental, are you? Yeah. We were doing environmental.
Yeah, that's
right.
I know. It's just like. But you could run with that too. Well, I can't tell you what it is I do.
Right. I can't tell you what I do. I had to kill you.
That's right. Oh, well, of your assignments, is there one that stands out as a favorite?
I've had really great assignments. I think the favorite one was the Europe tour over there for almost 4 years. Walked in as the environmental chief and then became the real property chief. I was basically volunteered to go. I was in the hallway. We were reorganizing at the AFC, and I was on the team to help, document and make sure all of that stuff was formal. And through it all, my position was being deleted. And that's one great thing about working in civil service is there's opportunities there that you don't even know they're there.
Right.
I didn't know that we had an office in Europe. And the environmental chief saw me in the hallway. He says, "Well, you're deleting your position. We're deleting your position. You don't have a position to go to tomorrow. We're going to send you to Europe." And I said, "Europe?" I thought he was joking. And he said, "No, you better tell your wife you're going to go to Europe." And I came back and actually told her, and she says, "Okay." That one of those sacrificial things again. She was a teacher here, and she would have to uproot and go with me. And after all said and done, I took the job. Get over there. It was a challenge for me because I didn't know the language. I had to learn German, which really helped me. It helped me to understand my limits, and I thought I had limits, but then when I got over there doing the job, I realized, hey, I did this in the States for the Air Force. I could do this here.
Yeah.
And it like I said, the challenge of it being there and me just stepping into it and just going in all feet first was really interesting for me. I thought that, the German staff, because most of the staff was German, would, give me some pushback, and American trying to tell us what to do. No, they were great. They were really great. I made some great friends for life over there. The one thing they did for me as the chief is on Thursdays, there was no English spoken. This is their effort to help me learn German.
Help you learn German.
They come in, put stuff on my board, and say, "Okay, this is what it means. This is how you do it. And if you're negotiating, this is what you say." And so it was really good. The first couple of times I had a hard time, but I look forward to coming Thursdays because we only talk German in the office, and that really helped me, especially when friends came over or some coworkers from San Antonio came over. I could kind of maneuver, the environment for them. So that was really good.
That's a great story. I did not know that they did that.
Yeah.
I also was in Germany for a little bit, long time ago, and I had one of the local nationals there. He would give me a German word of the day.
Oh, okay.
Right. He's kind of like, "All right, Robert, it's time to whatever." And he'd write it on my whiteboard, tell me what it was. I'd stare at it and then forget it 30 minutes later. It's just
Right.
It's like, I don't know what this means,
Right.
And I don't know, but that sounds like a lot a lot better way to kind of help you get
Oh yeah,
spun up and learning German.
yeah. That was great though.
Yeah. So, you admit we said a couple times like challenges. What were some of the challenges that you faced kind of in that assignment?
First, the language barrier. Not only did I have the German requirement here, I had also, we were lead agent in Britain and Spain and Germany. So those three, I was the lead environmental person for, not just the Air Force, but DOD. So whenever there was a meeting, I bring in the Army, I bring the Navy, and sometimes they didn't see things the way we did. And so that was a challenge, especially if I'm the lead. Now, I didn't give them the same courtesy of, giving them a hard time when they were the lead in certain countries, and I had to be in the meeting and I had to, represent the Air Force. And so the challenge was I didn't want to make a mistake for the Air Force and, for dealing with the host nation, but also I didn't want to impact that relationship between Army, Navy, Air Force. Whenever we had to get together, we had a situation in Naples one time, and we all had to get there, and I couldn't get there because my host staff was in England teaching, the host nation how the Americans do environmental, and I had to actually, really maneuver around that, and the Navy was really putting pressure because they had the lead for Naples. And they were really putting pressure on us and, threatening to call the State Department that we weren't cooperating, things like that. Just that relationship thing, crossing over between the different departments. That was really, really challenging. Once I got my feet going, dealing with the host nations, it was really, I kind of knew my place. I knew what I could do. I knew what I could negotiate, and it became second nature to me. And I really, like I said, I learned about myself in stepping into that, and I really, really enjoyed it. Dealing with the host nations. That, like I said, the challenge was the communication with the different agencies. Made it difficult sometimes.
I can imagine. It's just another level of complexity.
Yeah, right.
I know how to do environmental, and now, and now you've got just this other, what in the world?
Yeah, and if you don't do it right, they call the folks in D.C. and say, hey, he's not cooperating.
Yeah.
It's
just like, oh my goodness.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Well, when you look back at your career, is there a person or a couple of people that you look back on that kind of helped shape your career and shape you as a civil servant?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, there's been so many people, just kind of put their little thumbprint on you and kind of guided you in the right direction. And if I were you, I wouldn't do that. Just hundreds and hundreds of people like that. But one kind of stands out. Actually, two. One for a positive reason, the other maybe in a negative way, but it really helped me and it challenged me. One, Mr. Gross, Ed Gross, may he rest in peace. He was my lead when I was at Kelly Air Force Base. And I was in the shops, and he really, really encouraged me, not just on the professional level, but on the personal level too. Ed was a self-made millionaire. When you see him, you didn't look like a millionaire. He looks like the bum off the corner that's begging, we'll work for food. And, clothes all gritty and grimy, but he's the sharpest engineer I've ever met. And Ed would tell me things, and I started to learn how he thought. And I said, oh, okay. If I do it this way and deal with people this way, I'll get a different outcome. And he really took me under his wing. In the shops, he kind of said, okay, Kenny, you don't have to be the best. Just treat people right. And I kind of worked with that, and Ed was really good at that. And man, when he walked around, Kelly Air Force Base, there was 28,000 people. Everybody spoke to Ed. Hey, Ed, because Ed was so smart, and he treated people like people. And he taught me that part. And, I'll tell you a little story. One time, we had problems in the shops. The safety was so bad. It was really, really bad. And I was one of the little mechanical engineers there. And I really didn't care. I didn't pay attention to what was going on in the machine shop. And Ed calls me over. He says, "Hey, we gotta get our safety thing together." And he says, "And by the way, I was talking to one of the shop guys, and he was telling me that none of the guys like you." I said,
How is that possible?
Yeah, they don't like me. I never speak to them. I never do anything to. That's right. You never speak to them. You never participate with them. And the colonel asked me to talk to you. You're a sharp engineer, but you got to start working with people. And he says, "I tell you what, they play ping pong on at lunchtime. Why don't you go play ping pong with them?" I said, "I'm not playing ping pong with them just so they can like me." And he says, No, go ahead and do that, Kenny." And I kind of bowed in and did it because it encouraged me. And then before you know it, I started really becoming friends with some of those guys, and they would tell me things about the safety things and why the pumps didn't work and stuff like that, or you guys keep buying this certain type of line and it keeps leaking, and so that's part of the safety problem. And then you got fluid all on the floor and things like that. And so Ed really encouraged me. Still, the relationships weren't really like Ed, but the colonel came to me one day and he says, "Hey, I'm going to make you the safety engineer. This way you can get to know people." I said, "What? I don't want to be the safety engineer. I'm a mechanical engineer. I don't want that."
Safety?
Safety. And I'm like, oh, what a downer. But I come to find out that, those people cared about what they did.
Yeah.
And they cared about putting together the machine parts. They were building parts for these aircraft that went to fly, fight, and win. And so I went out and started working with those guys, and we came up with some great things. And before you know it, our safety record got a lot better. Not because of me, because of them. We, no one would listen to them. That was the problem. No one would listen to them. And Ed couldn't just do it all.
Right.
And so Ed really encouraged me that, and I really appreciate Ed. Just learning how to deal with people, and that really helped me because I was, most engineers, we kind of anal, in our own little world. Leave us alone, don't mess with me. I know more than you do, and Ed taught me that those shop guys really know more than what I know, and I just need to harness everything they have and put it to use, and so Ed was really good at that. And the other person, believe it or not, and her, is I don't know if I would need to mention her name or whatever. We know my old director in environmental. She was really hard. She was rough around the edges. She's fighting everybody in the men's world. But she's really a hard person to deal with other people. But, behind closed doors, I just saw her. And she didn't intimidate me. As a person, she didn't intimidate me. And I use a lot of what Ed taught me to kind of maneuver around her and deal with the other directors in the area. And she over time got a little respect for me, encouraged me in certain things, and put me in positions that I didn't think I wanted. I see them failing. I don't want that job. There's a lot of that. I don't want that job. But she says, her main line was, "You don't get a vote." Yeah. And so she put me there, and that really helped me to flourish. Yeah. To get to know the higher echelon of the Air Force and DOD. She put me out there, and the thing is, she trusted me and put me out there. And I'm like, I would have never put me in there, but she saw something, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah, it's sometimes we need a nudge to get out of, and I'm not going to say the comfort zone, but there's a world that and if you're going to grow, I hate to say it, sometimes it's sink or swim, right? They just kind of put you out there.
Right.
And I know who you're talking about. Like, we're good friends too, and there's different styles of leadership, and some people are just like, checklist, we're going to get this done, go. And some people don't want to work for folks like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I've worked for a bunch of different types of people. I know you have too. Mm-hmm. And as you adapt to different leadership styles, sometimes it helps you to grow.
Right. And I appreciated that. And when she would yell at other people, I would chuckle inside, like, "You're an idiot. You deserve this.
You deserve it." Yeah. Tough love, right?
Yeah, right.
It's just like it is. Yeah.
Right.
So yeah, that's good time. So looking back over your career, and so this is the kind of sometimes, did you ever get the phone call or the email where you just had to like put your head in your hands and go, what? What is this? You know, what is this? Because
Right.
and it's not a bad thing sometimes. Like the government has so many different things we do, and there's sometimes bureaucracy is good.
Mhm.
You know, I've talked about airfield waivers before, and you know, you had a pilot die in Misawa in '98,
Mhm.
but then you know, you build this checks and balances and lots of checks and balances to make sure we construct safe airfields for our pilots. But sometimes you get that email or that task, and it's just like, I don't understand. Yeah. Can you think of a time like that?
Oh man, like I said, there's been so many, over 42 years.
Yeah.
I would say the one that kind of threw me off was not too recent before I retired.
Right.
We had a wing commander at one of the eastern bases, and we were coaching him, and we were telling him, okay, for environmental, we know you don't know the environmental. You're the greatest pilot ever,
Yeah.
but when it comes to environmental, really listen to us because the lawyers are here, and we want to protect you and protect the community and the airmen there. And we thought it was all good. We thought it was great after sitting down with him and coaching him. And,
Getting him on the same page.
and we did that
Yeah.
a lot. In fact, we actually teach the wing commanders prior to their going into their new assignment on just some of the environmental aspects. And a lot of times, if it's a particular base, we want to give them all of the feedback and background so they won't be surprised, with the community, because their job is they're the mayor of that city.
Yep.
And they have to deal with the communities around them. And so we coached them. We coached them up on the environmental. Yeah, it's a pretty rough course, a quick course, but you would hope that, some of the things they learn at least to call me when you have a question. And like I said, with this one commander, he was really gun-ho, man. This guy was the gun-ho guy. I mean, you put him on the fighting line, he'll probably kill everybody by himself, but that's what he thought. And so he thought he can just take on the community the way he wanted. This place, a group called the River Keepers on the East Coast, they had a strong hand in dealing with environmental issues with the Air Force bases and the Army bases and stuff like that. And we respected that because they cared about their community. So we coached him up, got him ready, and then he went to the community and we told him, don't agree with the regulators on this, don't agree to this, don't agree to that. And then the next week or whatever, I get a call from my boss, and he says, the wing commander says we kind of left him out in the cold. We didn't prepare him and stuff. We says that's not true. Well, it's all on the news media, and it was all on TV and everything that the wing commander committed to this and all that kind of stuff. And specifically, we told him not to do that.
Yeah.
And like you said, I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I sat down and told him, don't do this. And he did it anyway. And he bowed down to the regulators, to the community. And then he asked for $40 million to correct his mistake from my boss. Yeah. And I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious? And I'm like, many times, they don't pay me enough for this. You probably said it to yourself. They don't pay me enough for this. Are you kidding me? Yeah. This guy went to college. He's flying jets and stuff, and he can't put this together.
Son, your body's writing checks that your ego can't cash or whatever.
And that was the big thing. And there's so many calls like that, in Alaska, in the Pacific, even in Europe again, even after I left Europe. So I knew the process, but my replacement wanted to do it his way, and dealing with Portugal. And that was one of the key things, we had to do over there is deal with Portugal because of the Azores. I told him, okay, we got it all set up. You're good to go. If you got any questions, call me. I'll be happy to help you. Come to Europe and help you out there, especially go to their big meetings with the state, with the country. And he refused, and he was from the Army side, and he did it his way. And before you know it, we had secretariats going over there, the State Department, the ambassadors going to meetings that it shouldn't have never elevated to that level. And and you always ask yourself, even coming back on the plane, I'm like, wow, they really don't pay me enough for this stuff. If you only knew, I would say that to myself, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, Mr. Johnson, we'll wrap this up.
Okay.
And I just want to thank you for sitting down and chatting with me. And I know you're not going to agree with what I'm about to say, but you left a huge legacy with the Air Force. You did. Nobody, I can't think of anyone who doesn't like Kenny Johnson. You touched so many people in a positive way. And, when I think of, because we work together, so we didn't talk about that. And I think there's a handful of people that I hold in the highest regards, and you're one of them. So I appreciate you taking the time to kind of chat with me. And I look forward to seeing what you do with your new chapter in retirement.
Right.
That's right.
Right. Well, I appreciate it, Rob. Thank you for taking the time and asking me. So, yeah. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right.
Okay. Hey, Robert Rushing here, and I just wanted to take a few minutes to introduce Bo Bloomer. He's with the Checkmate Realty Group, and let Bo tell you a little bit about what it is he does.
So we're super excited to be able to continue to help folks. I'm retired Air Force, and you talk about your service, and one of the things that we do now is that we're able to continue our service by helping folks find homes, find a house that their family can make a home. We're here across all of DC, Virginia, and Maryland. And what's great is that individuals moving in from all the different locations, as well as people here that might be downsizing or even maybe looking for an investment, something like that. We're kind of all your real estate needs, your one-stop shop. So looking forward to help out individuals. One of the things that we often will talk about is that if individuals have not moved in the area yet, we can help you out by being your boots on the ground and walk through and do FaceTime videos or any kind of thing like that, so that you can see a home if you're interested in that. Other than that, we are also super adept at picking up folks at the airport if you're coming out for a house hunting trip. Matter of fact, I've got one tomorrow with an individual coming out from Arizona. Pick you up at the airport, drive you around. You can look at different areas. We can give you a different sense of like this little town or that little town, so that you can really find a place you fall in love with and that your family's going to have a wonderful place to make a home.
All right. And as a customer, I can say this. When we moved to the NCR, it was a change of agency for me. The family was stressing, in the middle of the pandemic. And one thing we didn't have to worry about the house because we knew that you were going to take care of us. And so, Bo, I thank you for that.
Thanks so much, Robert. It was an absolute pleasure working with you, and being able to help out folks is the top of our game. We love doing that.
All right. Hey, Robert Rushing here, one of the old government guys, and I'm joined today with Mr. John Gibson, who, as he had said before, is an older government guy. And we've chatted with John about his career. And how long was your federal career, John?
1986 to 2025.
There you go. So working for the government, we're just regular people. We're your friends and neighbors. We just happen to work for the federal government, and we work really hard. We do a lot of cool and interesting things. But every once in a while,
You get to do fun things.
you get to do fun things. So, John, why don't you tell me some
Okay,
of your
couple of
fun
fun
thing
stories. We talked previously about how I was in the intern program, and I was a real estate guy at Headquarters Strategic Air Command at Outfit Air Force Base, Nebraska. And he prefaced it that I grew up as an Air Force brat. My father was a pilot, retired as a lieutenant colonel, was a B-29 squadron commander in World War II, and then raised me after he retired. Well, one of the things we got to do is we got to go on a tour of the SAC command post. We could take friends and neighbors on a tour of the SAC command post, underground.
Oh, yeah.
And my first winter there, my parents came in for Thanksgiving, and I said, okay, I'm going to give them a tour of the Sac Underground. Now, one of the things that happened on this tour is the people on the tour got to talk to the commander in Looking Glass, which is the Flying Air Force Command Post, who is the general officer. Well, so we were going on, and the guy said, okay, which one of you wants to talk to the general officer? My dad raises his hand. And they sit down and say, hello, this is retired Lieutenant Colonel Gibson. And he wants to say hi. And the general officer is looking at it, came back and said, oh, hi, Hoot. How are you? Hoot was my dad's nickname. They knew each other.
Oh my gosh.
So they're talking back and forth about memories and stuff. And my mother and my wife, who's 7 months pregnant at the time, she and I, we're just looking at each other like, this is nuts.
That's hilarious. That's
Story 2, we talked about the interview about how I went on these ATSEP inspections.
Yeah.
And we got to go out to all the bases in Air Education Training Command. Well, this one time, I go to Vance Air Force Base, Oklahoma. And we ended up staying over the weekend. And we went up to eat on Saturday night, and we came back to the base. And I ran into the wrong gate guard. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, which means I don't drink. Right. Which means, but this gate guard thought I was inebriated. And he's got me at the gate doing...
yeah. Standing on your toes.
Doing all this. I'm sitting there going, are you nuts?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So that one, but that wasn't, there's one more I got to tell you.
Yeah.
At the time, we went to Alsace Air Force Base. And I'm done at the end of the day, and I had driven my car from San Antonio to Alsace, and I'm an avid golfer. And my golf clubs were in the back. So I decide, work is over, I'm going to go out to the driving range on the base and hit a bucket of balls. Well, I parked my car on the side of the road, right next to the driving range, so it'd be easier for me to get there. Well, I'm walking on the driving range, and I turned around, and all of a sudden, my car is surrounded by 4 cop cars. And they asked me to come over, and they go, what are you doing here? And I'd say, I'm hitting golf balls over there. And they haul me into the parking lot. They searched my car. Actually, this was the security forces and part of the OGG, thinking that the OGG had thrown me at them as an exercise problem.
Oh my gosh.
Which they didn't.
Yeah.
But here's the important part. So they search my car and everything's fine. They all get in their cars and drive off with my keys.
Oh.
So I have to go into the clubhouse of the golf course and call the law enforcement and say, can you please tell whoever jacked me over by the driving range to bring my keys back?
Oh my gosh. They're just doing their jobs.
They were doing it, yeah.
But you can't make that stuff up. Yeah.
Yeah, and I talked to the chief master sergeant who's running the team the next day, and he's just rolling his eyes like, I can't believe they did this.
Oh my gosh.
And they took me about, in order to figure out, oh, I know why they did this. They thought I was an exercise
Part of the thanks for sharing those stories. The bottom line is, like, we work hard, we play hard.
Absolutely.
It's a tight knit community, and oh my gosh, it's a tight knit community when your dad is talking to the general and like they know each other.
Yeah, it's like, oh, hi, Hoot.
And you didn't know that, right?
No.
Didn't know that.
No, until it came back across the radio and said, oh, hi, Hoot.
That is crazy. Yeah, that is crazy. All right, John, I appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time to chat with me.
All right. Thank you.
And,
Enjoyed
I'll
it.
see you again. Hey, Robert here. If you find yourself traveling down I-40 in eastern Oklahoma and you need a quiet place for the night, stop in and see my friends Kelly and Jody at Ambassador's Inn and RV Park, where they aim to provide you three things: a clean room, your restful night's sleep, and probably a wacky story, because Kelly is full of them. But don't, and I repeat, do not let him tell you a joke. He's terrible at jokes. Kelly and Jody aim to provide a clean, quiet, uneventful stay. Ambassador's Inn and RV Park is an American-owned and operated small business where your peace and comfort are their top priority. You'll find Ambassador's Inn and RV Park at exit 278, where a safe and homely atmosphere awaits. Be sure and tell them the old government guy sent you. For more information, you can find Ambassador's Inn and RV on Facebook or give them a call at 918-463-3727.
And there you have it. We've just wrapped up another episode of the Old Government Guys, a Rapid Point studio production. We're always on the lookout for new folks to highlight, so if you know someone who deserves to be recognized, let us know. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions on how we can make the show a little better, we'd love to hear from you. Please reach out to me or my cohort at OGG@rapidpointstudio.com.
Old government guy Robert here. Just wanted to thank you for tuning in. Please be sure to like, follow, or subscribe, and make sure you tell a friend about the show. It's our goal to be your third favorite podcast, so keep the suggestions coming in as we work to mature our platform. And once again, thanks for tuning in.